Good morning, students. After a long time, we are going to spend some valuable moment together. I think all of you know that we are going through one of the most critical moments in our life, where the explosion of pandemic has brought the entire world to a standstill. More than lakhs all over the world have been victimized. Now the only way for us is to maintain social distance and stay safe. But the progress of civilization can never stop. So with the help of technology, our management has decided to impart education in an unobstructed manner, calling up the best time that we had passed in our classes. We are going to spend some valuable time hereafter. It will be a revisional class on the poem We Are Seven by William Wordsworth, which you will obviously enjoy. We Are Seven by William Wordsworth. Now let us know about the poet. William Wordsworth was certainly not without his share of tragedy, and this poem, We Are Seven, is one which evokes this tragic feeling and helps the readers to emphasize with the character and thus indirectly empathize with the author. Now, let us read the poem. A simple child that lightly draws its breath and feels its life in every limb. What should it know of death? I met a little cottage girl. She was 8 years old. She said her hair was thick with many a curl that clustered round her head. She had a rustic woodland air, and she was wildly clad. Her eyes were fair and very fair. Her beauty made me glad. Sisters and brothers, little maid, how many may you be? How many? Seven in all, she said, and wondering looked at me. And where are they? I pray you tell. She answered, Seven are we, and two of us at Conway dwell, and two are gone to sea. Two of us in the churchyard lie, my sister and my brother, and in the churchyard cottage I dwell near them with my mother. You say that two at Conway dwell, and two are gone to sea, yet ye are seven. I pray you tell, sweet maid, how this may be. Then did the little maid reply, Seven boys and girls are we, two of us in the churchyard lie, beneath the churchyard tree. You run about, my little maid, your limbs they are alive. If two are in the churchyard laid, then ye are only five. Their graves are green, they may be seen, the little maid replied. 12 steps or more from my mother's door, and they are side by side. How many are you then? Said I. If they too are in heaven? Quick was the little maid's reply. Oh, master, we are seven. but they are dead. Those two are dead. Their spirits are in heaven. It was throwing words away. For still the little maid would have her will and say, nay, we are seven. You have already learned this poem in your class. We are seven. And now I like to explain you the summary of the poem, and later I will also critically analyze you the poem. Now let us read the summary of the poem We Are Seven. We Are Seven by William Wordsworth begins with the speaker asking what a child, who is clearly full of life, could possibly know about death. At first, the poet makes it seem as if the child does not know anything about death. This is due to the fact that she does not seem to understand that her siblings have died. The little girl continues to spend time singing to them and speaking with them as if they were still alive. By the end of We Are Seven, it becomes clear that the girl understands more than it seemed. She is not allowing grief to ruin her life or keep her from living happily. She shows a greater understanding through her acceptance of their deaths and continued optimism. Now let us analyze the poem We Are Seven by William Wordsworth. We Are Seven was written in 1798 when Wordsworth was 28 years old. The poem is composed of 16 four-line stanzas and ends with one five-line stanza. Each stanza has an AB rhyming pattern. The poem is an interesting conversation between a man and a young girl. It is especially intriguing because the conversation could have been less than five lines, and yet it is 69 lines long. The reason of this is that the man cannot accept that the young girl still feels she is one of seven siblings, even after two of her siblings have died, and even though she now lives at home alone with her mother. The speaker begins the poem with the question of what a child should know of death. Near the beginning, it seems as if the little girl understands very little. She seems almost to be in denial about the deaths of her siblings, especially because she continues to spend time with them and sing to them. By the end of the poem, however, the reader is left with the feeling that perhaps the little girl understands more about life and death than the man to whom she is speaking. She refuses to become incapacitated by grief or to cast the deceased out of her life. Instead, she accepts that she, things change and continues living as happily as he can. Students, let us recall the golden moments of our classes. Through the poem We Are Seven, I have compiled a test set to recall our memory. The set is based on the first six stanzas of the poem. So, you have to take your pens and copies ready for the solution of the objective questions thereby asked in the question paper after the analysis of the first six stanzas of the poem. The first stanza of the poem goes like this: a simple child that lightly draws its breath and feels its life in every limb. What should it know of death? Now, if we analyze the first stanza, it, it is like this. The speaker opens with a question, one that resonates with most, if not all people. Why should a child ever have to experience death? Immediately, any reader who is ever known the untimely death of a child or experienced a young child lose a mother, father, or sibling identifies with the speaker. Now, in the next two stanzas, that is, second stanza and third stanza, I met a little cottage girl. She was 8 years old, she said. Her hair was thick with many a curl that clustered round her head. She had a rustic woodland air, and she was wildly clad. Her eyes were fair and very fair. Her beauty made me glad. Now, let us critically analyze stanza 2 and stanza 3. The speaker then begins to describe a young girl with whom he is speaking. He describes her clusters or curls around her head and her very light eyes. Once the reader has the image of a beautiful little girl in mind, he or she can imagine the conversation taking place and thereby further identify with the speaker. When the speaker claims that the beauty of the young girl made him glad, the reader begins to feel the effect this little girl had on the speaker. Now, if we analyze stanza 4, 5, and 6, Now let us read the stanzas. Sisters and brothers, little maid, how many may you be? How many? Seven in all, she said, and wondering looked at me. And where are they? I pray you tell. She answered, Seven are we, and two of us at Conway dwell, and two are gone to sea. Two of us in the churchyard lie, my sister and my brother. And in the churchyard cottage I dwell near them with my mother. Now, if we analyze the stanzas from 4 to 6, the speaker begins a conversation with this young, lively girl in which he asks her how many siblings she has. The girl replies that she is one of seven. She then explains that two were at Conway or going to school, and that two were out to sea, and finally, that two were buried in the churchyard, and that she alone lived with her mother in a home not too far from where her two siblings were buried. Within the innocent, light-hearted answers of the young girl, there are embedded the realities of the tragedies this girl has already experiences. The reader immediately feels the loss this young girl has lived through, even if she doesn't express over sadness or despair. The reader can begin to feel it for her as the reality of what she has been through sets in. The reader quickly realizes that having once had six siblings, she now lives alone with her mother. Now let us see what are the important points to remember in the first six stanzas of the poem We Are Seven by William Wordsworth. First, the poet met a beautiful little cottage girl. Next, the little girl had thick and curly hair. Then, the girl was wildly clad. Next, the girl said that they were seven. Then, two of her brothers lived in Conway. Then, two of her brothers went to sea. Two, a brother and a sister, rested peacefully in the churchyard cottage. Finally, the girl lived with her mother in the churchyard cottage. Now, we have already spent quite a lot of time with the poem We Are Seven. Now, students, follow the instructions and answer the questions accordingly. Thank you, students. I think you have enjoyed your test. After this, I will provide you the answers for your verification. All right, are you ready? Now, verify the answers. A1, your answer will be girl. A2, your answer will be 8 years old. A3, your answer will be thick and curly. A4, your answer will be countryside. A5, the answer will be beautiful. Then, in true or false statements, B1 is a false statement. B2 is a true statement. B3 is a true statement. B4 is a false statement. B5 is a true statement. Now, in character analysis, all right, for C1, it will be lightly draws its breath. C2 dwells at Conway. C3, your answer will be that she and her mother lived near the churchyard. C4, the answer will be lived with her daughter beside the churchyard. In case of complete the sentences, D1 answer number means for D1 the answer will be a cottage in the countryside. D2 the answer will be round the girl's head. D3 the answer is beauty of the girl. D4 the answer is brothers and sisters. D5 the answer is in a cottage. And then the answers of the questions and means questions, the answer of the questions that I have given are question number 1, the answer will be the poet met a little girl in the countryside. The answer of question number 2 is the girl was wildly dressed. The answer of question number E3 is the beauty of the girl made the poet glad. Answer of E4 is the poet asked the little girl about the number of her brothers and sisters. The answer of E5 is the girl's mother lived with her in the cottage. Thank you, students. I am very satisfied to take this class after a long time. Your coordination and cooperation in this class have pleased me. I am grateful to our school authority and the technology that has helped us to impart knowledge in such a pandemic situation. Thank you very much. Stay home and stay safe. Stop.